Hello and welcome to gaming and welcome to another eSports Boxing Club update. The alpha gameplay footage trailer 1 I guess has just dropped now, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on what has been shown off in this gameplay trailer. We're going to sort of sit and go through it. I want to say what I think, and then I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's get into the video and see what Steel City Interactive have to offer so far. So there they say, Ash says, of course this is not the finished product, and they keep reiterating that because there was a little bit of backlash to the fighter announcement video that had some gameplay footage in it. There was comments made, and I think Steel City are aware that that people are making those comments, and they want to sort of, you know, address that. So these are the things being covered in this gameplay feature video. They do mention that there's things like referees and other gameplay aspects coming, and they'll show off eventually, but these are the things that we're seeing in this video today. So here we see the movement aspect of the gameplay, and this is something that right from the off Steel City have gone on about with their game, how the movement is implemented, and to be honest, it looks pretty good. It's always looked pretty good, I think, the movement for the fighters. You know, they're hopping along, they're bobbing their heads, they're moving around, and I'll just roll it back so we can see some more. He does mention about this, there's a little hook out of the corner. If I can find that again, we can show you to get himself out the corner here. Here it is, boom, just to get himself out of the corner there, get away from Eddie Hall. But as you can see, you know, they're sort of hopping around, bobbing about, pretty cool. He does mention that a lot of like the punches and things are, they aren't going to be 100% accurate, you know, with the way that boxing works when boxers get tired and things like that. He said things, you know, some punches will slide off the arm or slide off the glove or whatever, and I think they're quite keen to sort of reiterate that not every punch is going to be perfect. Then we get to see the feint delay system, where you can cancel a punch mid-animation, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, you do see this sort of thing, don't you, in boxing matches where someone will half throw a punch and then switch, and I think this can be a really effective way of tricking your opponent, your computer opponent, or your human opponent. We get to see it in action here. So Eddie Hall's about to throw one punch and he changes it up into a left uppercut. Pretty cool. As you see, the big alpha footage work in progress up there. They want you to know that this isn't final. So the footwork system again falls in line with the movement system. We've sort of pretty much seen this. They've obviously made some changes since, but as I say, the movement for me looks great. I don't think there's anything to really complain about with that. A lot of issues that have been raised is the camera position. A lot of people have been saying about not being able to see the fighter through the ropes or something, so I don't know if they're going to address that. It would be handy to maybe make these front ropes transparent when you're fighting, or just have a different camera view, maybe slightly higher above. I don't know what the answer is there really. I think the transparent thing's probably the best answer to that. But yeah, as we can see, the footwork is pretty nifty. I don't think we should have any complaints about that. So the adrenaline system, this is kind of like a new thing. Instead of having like just a straight up stamina and fatigue thing, I think this is pretty cool. So you've got your heart rate in the bottom right there. So obviously if you're going after a fighter, your heart rate's going to increase, right? If you're exerting more pressure, then that's going to happen. And it looks like you can sort of trigger an extra bit of adrenaline there. I guess that's what it is, adrenaline system. So as you can see, when it's flashing blue, you can really go after a fighter. But I do like the idea of having your heart rate there, and that's going to deplete your stamina as you're fighting, you know, if you're going too much, but you get that little bit of adrenaline if you need to. I don't quite know how it's going to work exactly throughout the fight, but it will be interesting to see how many you are allowed to use. Alright, counter punches, big effective thing in Fight Night. Let's listen to what they say here.
So the counter punch system works really well with the movement, as well as the range
So,
of punches available.
Again,
Whether it's front foot, back foot,
the movement, the footwork being exploited here. Very short there on the counter punching. So I'm not quite sure how that's gonna turn out, because you would expect a little bit more to have been said there. Now obviously on Fight Night you get like an instant flash when you hit a counter, but as you can see there's a little flash there from Eddie Hall's little counter. Let's go back to that. As you see, a little flash, so a good indication that you've got the counter there. So yeah, ducking out the way, hitting the shot. I guess maybe they don't need to go into any more detail with it. It's pretty straightforward. But yeah, again, really reliant on their movement, their footwork, and that's how you're going to be getting your counters in, which I guess, you know, obviously that's how it works in real life as well. So the cut men corner work, I think they say they've done away with like any mini games here, and it's just dependent on who you sign to use. Let's see.
So we've done away with mini games in ESPC. This corner scene is still very early in terms of what's going to be shown.
So yeah, you've got to sign your cut men. Okay, so it's just basically going to come down to who you sign, who you've got in your corner. I don't know how that's quite going to work with exhibition. Are certain boxers just going to have their particular cut men, the guys that are in, but are they going to be able to sign all those people? I don't know. These are questions to be answered. Be interesting to see. It might just auto assign people based on who you pick, but obviously in your career mode it's going to depend on who you sign. So the fight stances defensive feature, what they mention here is obviously some fighters have different stances, and you're going to be able to pick your own in your own you know, fighters that you create. But as you see, Rocky Marciano here sort of has a block, and they said that that's gonna, instead of you having to like basically use block all the time, that's gonna lead into you having partial block there. So on his body he has got a bit of a block already, rather than having to constantly click to block punches. But they said that obviously certain stances are better against other stances, and some are worse against other stances, and that sort of matchup is gonna determine how fights go. So again, pretty nifty little feature. They don't really talk about it too long. Career mode, probably something that we're all very much interested in. Now they state that you sign with a promoter. As you see, negotiation skills, financial benefit, rank, and social. There's going to be like different tiers to what they can do for you, and it's going to impact the fights that you have in your career. It's going to determine whether you have your fights at home, if you have them away, how much of a split you're going to get in terms of the pay for the fight, things like that. So here you see fight purse, fight promotion. You can change like the camp slightly. I think it depends on who you've got working for you, things like that. You can have injury insurance, rematch clauses, lots to consider. And then as you see, there's like a 75% success chance to negotiate, so you've got to do this like negotiation to set up your fights as well, and I guess your promoter's going to do that on your behalf. Pretty cool. I think that is a pretty cool way of doing a career mode. It's more like what happens in real life, right? So here's your opponent's screen, and obviously once you've negotiated the fight you can see their stats, but what they say is depending on the level of your coach in your camp, you can unlock more things to see going into the fight. So we can see health and stamina here, but tier 3 coach required, tier 5 coach required, tier 7 coach required, tier 9 coach required to unlock all of those things. So there is some coaches' comments as well down below. Dangerous when hurt, but other than that, you need to have a high level coach. Hopefully, I'm hoping that this is just all going to be like in game, and there isn't going to be pay to win aspects to this. They aren't going to just be like DLC. You can buy coaches, because they kind of did that with Fight Night, where you could buy like these boosters and things. That scares me a little bit. I hope that isn't the case. Of course, this is just for the career mode. I don't think this is going to play into any online or anything like that, but that's where it could become exploited. Hopefully not, though. So here's the end screen, and to be honest, it wasn't a very long video. I thought they would go into a bit more depth with what was going on, and it just had me a little bit worried that the game's not as far along as we think. They are saying about an early access for the summer. I thought we would get a lot more than we did here. Yes, they've shown off a variety of aspects to the game, but very short little snippets of each, not an awful lot of content to go off. So that does make me think that maybe it's not as far along as they would like, or maybe they've got scared by some of the comments from last week. They do state that the current punch sets will be replaced with a further iteration. So they've obviously, you know, they either originally thought that the punches that they were doing were okay, but then they've seen the comments, or I don't know, but they state it's going to be replaced. I've seen some people in the comments saying, brilliant, that's what we want, but it needs to be right. They need to get it right, basically, from the off. Variety of stances to come in, things like that. Variation of punches to be introduced. Marquee fighters will be motion capped to take advantage of the revolutionary footwork system. So, I think overall, I don't want to say disappointing. You know, it took till Sunday for this video to come out, which I thought it was going to come earlier in the week. They did say next week. Yes, that's right. They have done it in next week, but I don't know. And then we only got a 7-minute video with very minimal footage of each little thing. So it does have me a little bit concerned. But I do like what we've seen with the movement. I think they have got that pretty good. I think the comments on the punches is somewhat legitimate. I mean, these do look better, what we're seeing here, but there is kind of like a softness to them. Now, Boxing Fanatico, as we mentioned in my last video, stated that not every punch is gonna be a wild one. It's not gonna like rock your opponent. In real boxing, that's not what happens, which, you know, I agree with. But I don't know. I don't know if it's because we aren't getting to experience this, so we're not playing this yet. But they do feel a little soft, like, or not feel, but look a little soft when you're watching it. But as I say, maybe when we get to play the game, that's not going to be a concern, and we're going to say, oh yeah, this feels right. You know, we're going to have the rumble in the controller, and that might change our minds. But just looking at it, I can see why people have been a little bit concerned with the punches. I think these ones look better than what we saw last week in terms of the actual way that the punches are thrown. So let's recap. I like the way the movement looks. I like the footwork. I actually quite like the feint system. I think that's pretty cool, being able to cancel your punch mid-punch and then sort of swapping it. I do think that looks really cool. I'm not sure on the punches still myself. I think they look decent enough. I think it's just going to be a case of when we get to try the game and seeing how we feel with it. Of course, if it's released into early access, they're going to take our feedback. They say in this video here that with the help of the community, they will obviously try and make this the best game possible. But I do think that this video was probably a little bit on the short side. I thought we were going to get like a really in-depth look into some gameplay here, and there was only some snippets of each little aspect. They do say that there's more to come. Of course, there's another fighter announcement next week, I think, so we might get something more there, although they seem like they were going to primarily focus on announcing boxers. Then we got the female boxers to come. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'm not negative on it. I think I'm still excited. I still think this looks like it's going to be great. We've been waiting so long for a licensed boxing game. So, you know, I am still hyped, but a little bit disappointed in this gameplay trailer. Personally, I thought it would be much more in depth. I didn't think it would be 7 minutes long. I thought we would get something like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, something like really in depth. But what do you think? That's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below. I do think the game looks good, and obviously I'm hopeful that it's going to be the best thing possible for us all when we get our hands on it. I'll see you guys in the next video.